Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the class. The time to start. Are you ready? Thank you very much. We begin. The fifth meeting is the title Non-Verbal Communication. Non-verbal communication. Last week, the first meeting, we discussed already verbal communication. As you understand already, communication, at least there are two persons in communication. First, to be the source of the message. The second, the receiver of the message. Communication success if the message conveyed by the source, received by the receiver in the same meaning, in the right meaning. You know already, in verbal communication, we have some media, but in this case also, non-verbal communication, we have some ways to express our communication. Well, non-verbal communication called also body language. You know body language? The gesture of your body, the gesture of your part of your body. The part of your body means the hand, the eyes, the foot, the arm, and so on. Body language. The definition, please. An informal, non-technical term for physical movement that express meaning. Express meaning means express message, usually distinguished from verbal communication and often referred to technically as non-verbal communication. That is. So, now our agreement is that non-verbal communication is body language. That is our agreement. Because body language, the definition, an informal, non-technical term for physical movement that expresses meaning. It means expresses message, distinguished from verbal communication and often referred to technically as non-verbal communication. Just to repeat that body language is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is body language. That is our agreement. This one. Ever since the publication of body language, that is a title of a book, publication by Julius Fast in 1970, people have been interpreting the non-verbal communication of others. Interpreting. We are interpreting also. For example, crossing one arm is not necessarily evidence of defensiveness. Leaning forward may be indicate aggression, but all trust such clues to some extent. You know it? Trust such clues to some extent. Agreed to some extent, it means. Someone who doesn't look at the person speaking certainly appears inattentive. Someone who doesn't look at the person speaking certainly appears inattentive. So, if somebody gives a speech or speak with you, you have to Look at the person. The question is, how about the blind man? When a blind man hearing speech, they are called inattentive or not? I say no. They are at all attentive. Although they are blind, their face, their ear always directed to the center of the sound, not to the loudspeaker, but to the source of the message. Again, not to the loudspeaker, but to the person who gave the speech. That is, no discussion. Yeah, the blind man, if they are inattentive, they are not directing their face to the source of the message. Okay, that is instinctively blind man attentive. Well, no more discussion how the blind man regarded inattentive or regarded as attentive. We discussed already. Pay attention to what your body is communicating. Stand tall and do not slump in your chair. That is. Pay attention to what your body is communicating. Stand tall and don't slump in your chair. You get the meaning. Shake hand firmly and smile. Have a pleasant expression and always look people in the eye. Look people in the eye. That is mean attentive. Don't let your head hang down. Not like this. To be attentive, it means you are respectful, you are respect the speaker. If you are interested in your non-verbal signal, how they affect others, you can ask colleagues or friends, better videotape yourself talking to others or as if to others alone. That is example. Are your gestures effective? Do you maintain eye contact? How do you appear when you are listening to others? Does your expression convey interest? Do you fidget? Move your body too much? Push your hair, jingle the change in your pocket? That is depend on your attitude in listening. That is depend on you. But be attentive. Make your gesture effective. If you are as a speaker, usually verbal communication followed by non-verbal. Like myself speak like this. Just to stress. Just to make more better stress to what we discussed. Does your expression convey interest? Again, depend on you. Be interest. If you are interest, then you are interested in the subject discussed. Any discussion for the above discussion? Well, non-verbal pattern. That is the pattern of non-verbal communication. Language studies traditionally have emphasized verbal and written. That is, we discussed already. that language studies traditionally emphasize verbal and written, but recently have begun to consider communication that take place without words. You know, the mute, how the mute know the message, that because of body language. In some type of communication, people express more non-verbally than verbally. Yeah, that is. In some type, in some occasion, communication people express more non-verbal. Again, in some type of communication. If you ask an obviously depressed people what is wrong and he answered nothing, I'm fine, you probably won't believe him. When an angry person says, let's forget the subject, I don't want to talk about it anymore, you know that he hasn't stopped communicating. His silence and withdrawal continue to convey emotional meaning. This example, you have to understand clearly, this example is for the depressed people. They need medicine. They need medicine. But what we discuss is discussion or speaking with normal condition, in normal, healthy, not in the breast. I have to show this because you have to understand, you have to see whether you spoke with, whether you are speaking with depressed, angry, or others, mad maybe. So you decide to continue what is wrong, you decide. But better avoid, because the depressed person need medicine, angry person need no companion. Okay, we go on. This is another example. United States showed that in the communication of attitudes, 90% of the message was transmitted by the tone of the voice, again, by the tone of the voice and by facial expression, where only 7% of the speaker's attitude was transmitted by words. Only. That is, American people transmit messages to others always through voice and facial expression. You know, facial expression, not only voice, not only sound of the word, voice of the word, no, but facial. If they are discussing, transmitting messages in happiness, about happiness, their faces look like smile. Their hand look like very kind. Their eyes look very kind. Apparently, we express our emotion and attitude more non-verbally than verbally. That is, we express emotion. If you in emotion condition and attitude more non-verbally than verbally. In emotion, no words, but hand. That is emotion. No word. So I don't like have student maintain their emotion. You get it? We continue. Cultural differences in non-verbal communication. Remember, we are different. Discussing cultures, we are different. Our gestures, our body language, we are different. Our way of speaking, we are different. Depend on our culture. Don't forget, we inherited culture from our ancestor. We are the offspring, have to maintain the tradition, the culture. Non-verbal communication expresses meaning or feeling without word. You understand already. Non-verbal communication expresses meaning or feeling without word. Like this. Universal emotions such as happiness, fear, and sadness are expressed in a similar non-verbal way throughout the world. You have to know. Universal emotions such as happiness, facial expression for happiness in America and in Java always the same. Big smile, that is happiness. Fear, also the same gesture. You know already. Close the eyes with double hand. That is fear. Sadness, also the same. Sadness maybe stay alone, cry. That is universal emotion, but others are different. There are, however, non-verbal differences across culture that may be a source of confusion. We are confused. By foreigners, for example, feeling of friendship exists everywhere, but their expression varies. That is one example for friendship. It may be acceptable in some countries for men to embrace each other, and women to hold hands. In other countries, this display affection may be shocking. You know, the Middle East, the Arabian friendship, meet their friend or make a friendship, they embrace other. They hold each other. But Japanese people, I mean, have another way. We are Indonesia also have another way. Not holding, not embrace each other. What is acceptable in one culture might be completely unacceptable in another. That is the key. We are different in culture. What is acceptable in one culture may be completely unacceptable in another. So, how then to make a friend with others? Because we don't know your way. The key is use your polite gesture. Use your polite gesture in your culture. Okay? One culture may be determined snapping fingers to call a waiter is appropriate. Another may be considered this gesture rude. Some culture to call waiter, they say like this. But in Indonesia, sometimes like this. but also another gesture with match. You know match? They turn on the match, it means call for waitress. That is different culture. So, where will you be? Use your respectful culture, gesture. We are often not aware of how gesture, facial expression, eye contact, and the use of space affect communication. That is, if you don't learn about non-verbal communication, body language, you are not aware of how gesture affect communication. Not only affect, also give that impact. Affect, effect, and impact. You should understand that three words in your discussion or in your speech, because you now learn about body language. Okay, you on. In order to correctly interpret another culture, style of communication, it is necessary to study the silent language of that culture. That is, body language, gesture is silent language. Silent language, no sound, but full of meaning. Like this one, the OK gesture in American culture is a symbol for money in Japan. You have to know how Japanese people say OK. American culture, the symbol of OK is something like this. But in Japan, it is for money. Maybe you have question. How Japanese say OK? What is their gesture? You know it? Japanese people saying OK not like this, but how? They are nodding their head as low as possible, like this. Very polite. You got it? Okay. Facial expression carry meaning determined by context and relationship. Yes, facial expression, your facial expression carry meaning by context. For instance, for example, the smile, which is typically an expression of pleasure, has many functions. Your smile have many functions. But please smile. Use your smile in any of your interaction. Why I tell you like this? Because smile is very easy. Smile costs nothing. You don't need fee to smile, but earn much. If you smile a lot, you earn a lot. A woman smile at a policeman who is about to give her a ticket doesn't carry the same meaning as the smile she gave to a young child. Yeah, that is different. A smile shows affection, convey politeness, or disguise through feeling. You can use your smile in this three, whether you showing affection, whether you are happy, convey politeness, or disguise through feeling. That is, you understand already. Pain is conveyed by a grimace. You know grimace, yeah? If you are pain, that is, which also signifies disgust or disapproval. Okay? A wink given to a friend mean you and I have a secret. You know a wink? A wink, it means close your eyes, one of your eyes, and open it as soon as possible. Close, open, close, open, open. That is a wink. So, they have also some meaning. Not just have a secret, sometimes just kidding. That is a wink. Depend on context. Again, the degree of facial expression also varies among individual and culture. Yes, facial expression also varies among individual and culture. Yeah. The fact that members of one culture do not express their emotion as openly as members of another doesn't mean they don't experience emotion. Be careful in your emotion. Be careful in your emotion. There are cultural restraints on the amount of non-verbal expressiveness. We go on. Given individual differences, it is difficult to make generalization about the cultural style of communication. You have to understand, I am Balinese, you are Javanese, you are West Sumatranese, you are Bataknese, Papuanese. We have different way in communication. We have different way in communication. American express themselves facially in varying degrees. America also. They have a lot of ethnic and ethnicity. People from certain ethnic background in the United States may use their hand, bodies, and face more than other Americans. Yes. There are no fixed rule, although it is considered negative or suspicious to have a deadpan expression or a poker face. You know poker face? You know poker face? A poker mean person who have a sense of humor. That pen you, yeah, pen is pen, but always use, hot always. That is the dead pen. Some people can be read like a book, others difficult to read. Oh, yeah. I'm very easy if you read like a book. You know, because I'm always happy. I'm always smile. So you read me like a book. Eye contact. We discussed already eye contact. Eye contact is important because insufficient or excessive eye contact may create communication barrier. Use your eye contact is in best is possible. It is important in the relationship because it serves to show intimacy, attention, and influence. Be sure that you use your eye contact for intimacy, friendship, attention, and influence. But also we are different. One culture open their eyes large, bigger, but one culture use normally. That is eye contact. In facial expression, there are no specific rule governing eye behavior, except that is considered rude to stare. Remember, if you stare somebody, look like rude. So be careful with strangers. Common for two strangers to walk toward each other, make eye contact, smile, and perhaps even say hi. The stranger may immediately look away and forget that they even had any contact. That is. You are studying language. Please never use hi in greeting. Say good morning. Say good afternoon. Just in case you are a very close friend, say hi. But if with strangers, better not saying hi. In a conversation, too little eye contact may be seen negatively because it conveys lack of interest, inattentive, or even mistrust. We discussed already. We discussed how the blind man in conversation. We discussed already this. Yeah, because your eye contact is very important in conversation. The relationship between mistrust and lack of eye contact is stated directly in the expression, never trust a person who cannot look you in the eyes. Okay? So, if you happen to be in conversation, if you are a boy, happen to have conversation with a girl, use your eye contact. Fish are fish, girl and boy, use your eye contact. Space, you know space, distance. Unconsciously, we all carry with us what have been called body bubbles. These bubbles are like invisible wall which define our personal space. That is distance. The amount of space changes depending on the interpersonal. For example, we are usually more comfortable standing closer to family members than to strangers. Yeah. If you show you are just an acquaintance, you will use this speech. Keep distant in conversation, not so close. But if you are very close friendship, better close distant. Not keep distant, but near distant. A Japanese employer and employee usually stand farther apart while talking than their American counterpart. Oh yes. In Indonesia also. I have a boss, but if I have to discuss something, not side by side with a boss, employer mean boss, employee mean staff. So between employer, between boss and staff, better keep distance in discussion. Okay, we go on. For American, distance in social conversation is about an arm length, like this. Let's suppose in American culture may be associated with greater intimacy or aggressive behavior. That is, be careful with the culture. If very close distance, sometimes intimacy, friendship is good, but sometimes used by aggressive people, because aggressive sometimes talk to you without distance for their purpose, maybe negative purpose. So be careful. The common practice of saying excuse me or pardon me in French, pardon, for the slightest accident touching of another person, in America about personal space. That is, that word used by somebody who in conversation using space. So one of the person in conversation may be not clearly understand, may be not clearly hearing the discussion. He use phrase excuse me, pardon me. In culture where close physical contact is acceptable and desirable, American may be perceived as cool as distant. Better use distant for American. Any discussion? No discussion. Okay, we continue. Culture doesn't always determine the messages that our body movement convey. Yeah. Again, discussing culture, we are different. That is, our body movement can be not understood. Make it clear. Make the gesture understood. Context, personalities, and relationship also influence them. Yeah, we discussed already. Context, personalities, and relationship, we discussed already. Not two people in any one society have the same non-verbal behavior. Yes. No two people in any one society have the same non-verbal behavior. This statement is right. We are different. Like verbal language, non-verbal communication cannot be completely separated from culture. Culture and language. We discussed already the relationship with culture and language. We discussed a few weeks ago. Whether we emphasize differences or similarities, the silent language is much louder than it first appeared. Again, body language is silent language. Convey it, use it better to avoid misunderstanding between members of conversation. Any discussion? This subject we discussed a few minutes ago have a very close relationship with verbal communication. Non-verbal body language sometimes additional of use as additional of verbal communication, just to give stress for the message and also make you interested or more attentive to the speaker. The time is over, everybody. The time is over. We have to stop the subject. Thank you. Thank you very much for your kind attention and attending my class. Hopefully, you get something of use of our discussion non-verbal communication. Once more, I hope you understand it and you get something of useful about our discussion non-verbal communication. Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Once more, thanks a lot. Stay home, stay happy, stay safety. Bye-bye. See you next week in the same time.